This is part 5 of section 4.3. Now we're going to use the reference angle to find the exact value of each expression. So we're going to need to find a reference angle for it. We're going to need to remember whether our sine value, cosine, so on, are positive or negative in the quadrant our actual angle is in. So let's find the reference angle for sine of 315 degrees. Well, I've reduced the unit circle here so I can put it all on the screen more easily. And 315 is between 270 and 360, so it is going to be in quadrant 4. Okay, so I know that I am in quadrant 4, sorry. And then, so that means that sine is, remember all students, so sine is positive here and here, cosine is positive here. So my answer is going to be a negative number. Okay, now let's find our reference angle. If we are in quadrant 4 and we're using degrees, then we do 360 minus our value. So our reference angle is a 45-degree angle. So now what we do is we're going to find sine of 45 degrees. Okay, sine of 45 degrees is square root 2 over 2. And now what we know is that sine of our original angle is going to be either square root 2 over 2 or is going to be negative square root 2 over 2. So here's where we make the adjustment based on which quadrant our original angle is in. And so we know that we need a negative answer. So sine of 315 degrees is negative square root 2 over 2. Okay. Now it just so happens that 315 is on our unit circle, and you can see that we've got that same answer there. Okay. Now let's do cosine of 4/3. Okay. 4/3 is actually on our unit circle as well, so, but we're going to work it as if we didn't know that. 4/3 is between pi and 3 pi over 2. Or if you want to think of these as in fractions, think of this as a 1. 4 over 3 is 1 1/3, and this is 1 1/2. So, or you can think of it in decimals, whatever you need to do to figure out where it is. Anyway, we are in quadrant 3. All right. And in quadrant 3, cosine is negative. So again, I'm going to have a negative answer. Now I need to find a reference angle for this. And since it is in quadrant 3, I take 4 pi over 3 and subtract pi. And that gives me my reference angle as pi over 3. So let's find cosine of pi over 3. Cosine of pi over 3 is 1/2. So cosine of 4 pi over 3 should be negative. So this is negative 1/2. Okay. Now let's do cosine of 1035 degrees. Let's get this into a coterminal angle that is between 0 and 360. And basically you take the value and you subtract 360 until you get the number you want, which is 315. Okay, so this is the equivalent of 315 degrees. Okay, now we've had this value before. This is in quadrant 4. And in quadrant 4, is cosine net positive or negative? It is positive. So I will have a positive answer. Okay. My reference angle is 360 degrees minus 315, which does give me 45 degrees. Okay. So I need to figure out cosine of 45 degrees, and that is the square root of 2 over 2. Now we make the adjustment as necessary based on our quadrant. Well, cosine in quadrant 4 is positive, so there's no sign change needed here. It is still the square root of 2 over 2. Okay, now this next problem is an exercise in making sure we don't work things more than once. We don't make our lives harder. We know that cosecant of 1035, we know 1035 degrees is coterminal with 315. So this is the same as cosecant of 315 degrees. Okay. Now cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So this is the same thing as 1 over sine of 315 degrees. We have found the reference angle for 315. We've done that twice already. So 360 minus 315 is 45 degrees. Okay, we know this is in quadrant 4. Cosecant in quadrant 4, well, in quadrant 4 sine is negative, so cosecant is negative. Okay, so if I'm going this direction, what I have is 1 over sine of 315 degrees, which is negative square root 2 over 2. That would be negative 2 over the square root of 2. And you should rationalize this. To get negative 2 square root 2 over 2, which reduces to simply negative square root of 2. Okay. Doing the same thing here with cotangent of 17 pi over 6. This is greater than 2 pi, so I'm going to get a coterminal angle. 17 over 6, if I subtract 2, I get 5 over 6. So its coterminal angle will have the same trig values. So this is the same thing as cotangent of 5 pi over 6. Okay, now which quadrant is 5 pi over 6? Well, 5 over 6 is larger than 1/2, but it's less than 1. So we are in quadrant 2. And cotangent is negative in this quadrant. So I'm in quadrant 2, and I know I should get a negative answer. Now I need to find the reference angle for 5 pi over 6. And in quadrant 2, you do pi minus your angle. So pi minus 5 pi over 6 is the same thing as pi over 6. Okay, so at pi over 6, which is right here. We have our x and our y values. Okay. Now, we know that it doesn't matter for cotangent what our radius is. You simply need to do x over y. So cotangent of pi over 6 is our x value divided by our y value. So square root 3 over 2 divided by 1/2, which is the same thing as the square root of 3 over 2 times 2. So that's just the square root of 3. So we know cotangent of our reference angle. We need to make the sign adjustment, and our answer should be negative. So cotangent of 17 pi over 6 is equal to negative square root of 3.